Hello and welcome to Diverse and Inclusive Leaders, the podcast show where I interview the most inspirational and thought-provoking leaders of today and unearth their unique stories of diversity and inclusion to help inspire, educate and motivate others to make the world a better place. This morning, I'm so incredibly thrilled to be joined by the incredible Dr. Nyla Raja. Now, Dr. Nyla is a very, very well-known and sought-after cosmetic dermatologist GP. She's known throughout the UK and in fact globally for her incredible treatments and for the fact that she has done over 65,000 successfully at her clinics here in Cheshire, as well as London's Harley Street and also Liverpool. She is sought after by some of the nation's well-known personalities, TV celebrities and well-known faces in the industry. And I'm here today at this fabulous, fabulous clinic to learn a little bit more about Dr. Nyla, some of her personal background, her stories of diversity and inclusion, and how she came to be where she is today. Because frankly, she is a role model for many women and men out there and diverse individuals who is really managed to make such an incredible career for herself and for her family as well. So welcome to the show, Dr. Nyla.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And do you know what? I've been so excited to speak to you this morning because I know that you've had an incredible career. You're such a hard-working businesswoman doing what you do. And I know also, it's been inspired, you're going into the medical profession by, really some quite personal, family history and everything like that with your younger sister. And so what I would really love to do is to kind of just have a little check-in with our audience and kind of find out a little bit about your background, how you came to be where you are today, and then perhaps we'll move on to a couple of subjects that are close to your heart and find out about some of the many different projects you've been doing recently.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So tell us how you came to find yourself in the medical profession.
Okay, so I come from a very academic family. I come from a big family where academia is very much looked up to and aspired to. And I have 5 elder sisters who are incredibly successful businesswomen and have become quite aspirational leaders in their own fields. Interestingly, none of them are medical, but I think my medical and my love for medicine and being a doctor comes probably from a really, really tragic childhood memory and an event that happened over 30 years ago now. Unfortunately, my little sister, she was attending her first day at school and it was end of day and we were all obviously crossing the road and she was knocked over by a drunk driver. And unfortunately, at the scene, she sustained significant head injuries. And I remember coming out of school and seeing sort of this awful array of bodies scattered all over the floor. And I ran and I saw my little baby sister, as well as my other sisters, who were much elder, and siblings who were all, but I could see them sort of moving around, whereas my youngest baby sister, she wasn't moving around. And I went over to her and she was communicating with me just with her eyes. And I supported her neck. And I remember watching Casualty as a child. And I was only 8, I was less than 10, so I was a child myself. But I remember watching Casualty and I'd watched some resuscitation procedures. And I thought really naively that if I just kissed my sister, that sort of put some oxygen into their body. So I just started to kind of kiss her and try and breathe some air physically into her mouth. And unfortunately, as I was carrying her, she passed away. And that was a really, 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 really life-changing moment for me, because I'm not particularly religious, but I remember thinking and sort of hoping and praying to God that, please will you help me in this situation? Because if you do, I promise you, I will help others. And I will really, really give something back. Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
No, not at all.
No, and I don't know why. This is what I said, even when I talk about it 30 years on, it's something that really, really affects me so much. This is not what you need, is it?
No, not at all. And it's really kind of you to share.
I'm your only guest that's cried on the show.
No, do you know what? It's such a
No, it was an absolutely
story.
devastating time for us. And more importantly, I think what it taught me is about resilience, and it's about taking positivity. And as a businesswoman, I've actually really learned this, that every bad situation has got something very positive to take away from it. And it's about learning from things that haven't gone right, and certainly not according to the plan. And so from that, I took away that I don't ever want to feel helpless like that ever again. And that exact situation, it just led me to become a doctor, and I trained at Sheffield Medical School, and it was the best medical school in the world. I loved my time training, but I committed then from a very early age to be the best person I can be, and to really appreciate and understand the value of human life. It comes before anything, whether it be wealth, material things, it is the most, and there's no price on it. You have got to care, and you've got to be the most humane person you can be. And it made me into a doctor, and I went on to train in hospitals in Manchester, and I'm glad and so happy to say that I feel that I probably helped so many other families, and I certainly did a lot of time in A&E and was involved in a lot of resuscitation procedures afterwards. And every person that I saved or was part of saving or did CPR on, and they were successfully, came around the other way, I don't know, I just felt like my sister was watching me, and it made so much of a difference to me.
Oh, what a beautiful story. And this is what I love about you, Nyla, is that kind of not only are you beautiful on the outside, which is obvious, but you've got such a beautiful heart and soul, and the way that you express yourself with everything that has happened, I think is just unbelievable. And clearly you've done so well onto other positive notes, having studied and having now multiple places of work in fabulous buildings like this in Cheshire. I know that there are a whole host of not only business leaders, but other individuals, female and male, that look up to you with where you are today. Yeah. So, talk to me a little bit about, before we go into kind of some of the current day pieces, around your family, because obviously you're one of a number of siblings.
Yes, absolutely. And so I have 5 elder sisters, and 6. I have 5 sisters altogether, and I have a brother who's the youngest of us all, and he's a very successful lawyer in Manchester. And my mum and dad really, again, were the most driven people I could meet. They're incredibly successful couple in their day, and they showed me about all of the hallmarks of successful people, to have goals, to have aspirations, to be relentless, to be strong, to not give up, and really, you have to go for what you want, and it can take several knocks. And I think for them, finally having a son after 8 daughters shows that you can't give up. You have a dream, you've got to follow it through, and you've got to know what you want and just keep going.
That was a remarkable story.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Before we were rolling, actually, Nyla told this gorgeous story about how she was obviously one of many sisters, and her parents did not expect to have a boy at the last moment.
At all. No, my mother was sterilised actually, and she happened to have this boy through a sterilisation.
A miracle.
Yeah, it was a miracle.
Absolutely incredible.
But I think if you believe, and my mother really believed that she would have this boy eventually, and in the end, I just think my mother is one of the most determined women. And obviously this is where I think myself and my sisters and my siblings get this from, but I think she's the most determined woman, and there's no such word as you can't. I mean, I remember my father would constantly say to me as a child, and I'd say, oh, I can't do it. And he'd say, what do you mean? And can't was not a word that they understood. And I then grew up with that mentality that, no, you can. We can do whatever we want. It takes you to just be very focused, resilient and ambitious, and you have a goal in your head and you just keep going. And of course, I've had multiple knocks in my life, but you have to be able to pick yourself up and learn from it and change and take away a positive from every negative.
Absolutely. It's absolutely mind over matter, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%.
And clearly your parents have been such huge inspirations to you in your life. I'm keen to ask, and I'm sure our listeners would love to know as well, who else has really inspired you throughout life? Because you're kind of, you just absolutely in a positive way, incredibly relentlessly pushing on, striving forwards. Other than your parents, who else has kind of inspired you, and who else continues to inspire you as you continue throughout your career?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's so many women, high-profile, successful businesswomen in this country who are just absolutely aspirational leaders. I think even, the prime ministers in this country, I don't know what to talk about Theresa May today, but poor Theresa May, Margaret Thatcher, I think so many, right from in Manchester, the original suffragette movement happened here, and, right down to the suffragette days of Emily Pankhurst, and women of all generations have inspired me to become such strong leaders. Karen Brady, what an inspirational young woman. I mean, she's achieved so little at such a young age. So I think there are just so many just inspirational women and other people around.
Absolutely. And it's great to see them really smashing the glass ceilings.
Unbelievable.
Obviously, we want to include everyone, but women especially, because there are a lot fewer women in high-powered positions classically. I mean, the FTSE 350 for companies still has only 7 female CEOs out of 350. And you mentioned, it doesn't seem right, does it? And that is the thing. I'm a real believer that that role models should be really celebrated, and not from an egotistical point of view, but I think those that are in positions of power, those that are in very visible positions, like yourself, do owe it to others to be fantastic trailblazers for women who are younger and who are, looking up to individuals.
No, I couldn't agree more with you. Absolutely. And I see in my industry, obviously, as a cosmetic doctor, I see a lot of very young women and they come in with photos of women that they aspire to be and look up to. And honestly, I have a daughter who's 6 and it really concerns me.
Interestingly, the rise of social media and digital transformation, I think generally speaking, is a good thing, because what it allows is for people's voices to be heard and for us not to be almost safeguarded by, the media only wanting a certain type of individual, a certain type of voice to be heard. So it is great for kind of embracing humanity and inclusion of all types. However, like we were saying before, there is obviously a lot of danger with it, and making sure we've got positive role models who are out there and being properly championed so that they can, leave that, that wake in their path, so that other females and males can, follow in their footsteps ideally. Because there aren't that many, I don't think, and you'd know the statistics better than me, but there aren't that many female doctors in comparison to perhaps males.
I think the statistics have changed slowly over the last decade. I think when I applied to medical school, which was, I've been a doctor for about 20 years, but when I applied to medical school, I think there was more men than women applying. I think the statistics have changed now, and I think there are more female people applying for medical school than male. But I think you're right. There's loads of positive benefits of social media. However, I've got to say, as a doctor who's performing a lot of procedures on younger women as well, I just feel like there's a lot of negativity surrounding social media. There's a lot of people coming in and, coming in with photos of themselves with ears and these tongues and these ridiculous pointy chins, and they're wanting an extreme version of themselves. The days where me and you would say, well, actually, I just want a little bit of tweaking, I want to look a bit better, are gone. These girls are striving just, they don't want to look anything less than absolutely perfect. But the problem is they're just producing monotonous versions of themselves, and they're just replicating what they see on social media. So there's no the sort of personality, and it brings us back onto, diversity and inclusion. Everybody wants to be a Kim Kardashian, or it kind of is removing the diversity and the uniqueness of each person. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it must come down to, is it confidence and really feeling inside that it's okay to be themselves, which it absolutely is. Because it's tough for these young women. I mean, seeing lots of pictures and trying to find themselves. I mean, I remember growing up and being, the only Chinese girl in school, and it was kind of, and you kind of, way back then, I really wanted to be blonde with blue eyes, and I wanted to be the same as everyone else. And I think when you're younger, you want to just blend into the crowd. When you get older, you do realise that actually, it's okay to be different, and it's quite good to be different. I mean, what would you say to women who are trying to find that inner confidence and that inner satisfaction with their own being?
Yeah, I think I often advocate looking at who your role models are. And I think it's really important. For example, myself, I have a professional responsibility to ensure that any social media posts I'm advocating are reflective of a person who I feel is a good role model. For example, I feel like the dynamics are changing slightly, and whereas before we may have looked at somebody like Megan Fox as a role model, I feel like a lot more women now are looking to somebody like Meghan Markle, and that's a really positive role model who has really, I find her inspirational. And so even on my social media, I'm giving much more coverage to when she's done something very positive, or she's appeared in the media and in the press, rather than. So I think we all have a responsibility to obviously advocate role models that we want people to be obviously looking up to.
Of course. Yeah. And I agree. I think she's a brilliant role model.
She's fabulous, absolutely.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And, she's got a unique heritage, of course. And she's doing such a lot for charity as well, which is just really nice to see.
Yes,
and she's got that natural kind of beauty as well, which clearly shines through.
Yeah.
Imagining you were going back to your younger self, what advice, if any, might you give to your younger self as you were growing up? And also any advice to our listeners or to anyone who's tuning in on YouTube today who is perhaps struggling or having a tough time in life and really wanting to make something of themselves?
I think the way I've probably changed from my 20s, when, at 25, I was a partner in a very busy, large general practice, which was a business, obviously. And something I've changed from those days to running my own multiple clinical sites is really decisions don't need to be made there and then. I think you need to reflect on things, and I think you need to think about things overnight, and really there's no need to rush into making a decision. And I think as you mature, you change a little bit. And I think the only other thing is, I think there's a lot of, you need to help other people as well. I think being selfless and looking out for other people and the younger colleagues, and being a nice role model to people as well, and really treating people the way they want to treat you is really, really important. And it's something, when I was a young girl trying to build a business, that I didn't have a lot of support from my seniors, and certainly senior ladies in a position similar to mine. Whereas I would really want to support younger generations and try and help them, develop any business ideas or careers in whatever sense they wish to be. Yeah.
I think that's so lovely. And, as I was waiting actually in reception this morning, I was having a chat with some of the girls that work for you, and they're all so positive. They said, Nyla's such a great role model, and great role model for us and also for others. And, I think that is so important. You mentioned there how important kindness is. And,
absolutely.
Whilst it seems a very small thing, it's surprising how many people don't display some of these basic human instincts, which really, just a small gesture of being kind and being polite, making someone feel included, can really change how they look at life in general, because you don't know what people are going through on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely not, yeah. And it's important to share. I mean, time is a very, very precious commodity for me. You know, I have 3 small children, I have a busy practice, I have lots of social, a large social network of friends. However, to give some of your time to other people and to the younger generations is really, really important, yeah? And just to give you time and, you know, just to help someone, it goes a long way.
And I know how pressing your time is, so I'm going to ask you just another couple of quick questions that I have. I wanted to ask what diversity and inclusion means to you, because I know that you're an advocate of, embracing each individual as being their own personal self and everything like that. But what does diversity and inclusion actually mean to you, Nyla?
Okay, so diversity and inclusion to me is about acceptance. It's about not judging. And it's about accepting anything and anyone into your circle and not making them feel they need to be a certain way. So I will often get a young woman who comes to me and she'll say, oh, I'd like to have larger lips or this or that. And the first thing I check with them is, well, why do you need to? Who says? Why are you after this treatment? What is your, end goal from this? And I will often challenge that person and say, is it for yourself or is it for her? Or is it because everybody should accept who you are? We should accept people for what they are and who they are and what they represent.
And embrace all of their unique idiosyncrasies.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Of course. I just wanted to ask, obviously, a massive advocate of diversity and inclusion, and you're working and meeting every single one of your patients every day. Yet, I'm sure you probably don't need to, because clearly everything is doing very, very well. What are your kind of key driving factors these days, other than, I guess, really wanting to make a difference, which that's just clear to see?
Yeah. No, can I tell you something? I think being a doctor, and certainly my background is one of general practice, is the best job in the world. I am invited. I've never met a person. I mean, there's no other career in the world where you actually don't know who this person is. You've never met them before. You know nothing about them. And they open, not even a little bit of their heart, but their whole heart to you. They tell you their deepest, darkest, most vulnerable things that have ever happened to them. They invite you into their whole life and they trust you. It's the nicest, most privileged job in the world. So when I come to work, I don't see it as work. It's my passion. I want to help people. I want to share their experiences. And the most important thing to me is that I want to make a change to their life, whether that's a physical change or something internal. I walk away from that person and I've got to feel like I made something change that mattered.
What an absolutely lovely note to end on.
Thank you.
That's just absolutely gorgeous, and I just carry on doing what you're doing because I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And just a note to all those doctors out there who work in the NHS and all the nurses and all the people who have given up so much of their lives, their precious time with family and friends. It is honestly, when you get to the other end, it is the best job in the world, and you do such an important job. So don't give up.
Thank you so much. And just to summarise some of the key learning points, because I've learned such a lot actually just from having this session, speaking with you. It's been like a counselling session. It's been wonderful, but I've learned such a lot, and I really hope that everyone who's tuning in today has learned an awful lot from Dr. Nyla and I speaking. I personally have learned, the art of resilience, the fact that actually it's okay to be yourself. You can feel beautiful inside and you can feel beautiful outside, and if you have that inner confidence, that really, really shines through. And finally, don't worry about being different. If you're at a stage in your life where you're kind of considering what to do next, or you're feeling, perhaps a little bit out of sorts, then don't worry at all. Things will work out. Embrace your inner confidence. Try and be kind, because showing kindness and actually giving back really will help you feel good about yourself as well. So keep on keeping on, be resilient, keep working hard. And hopefully one day, there'll be the chance to end up in a really wonderful place filled with happiness, joy, and love and laughter. And on that note, I'd like to thank Dr. Nyla ever so much. You've been absolutely wonderful as a guest on the show. Honestly, it's been really, really touching, and I feel like I've got to scratch below the surface and really get to know you better personally. Thank you. My name is Leila Mackenzie, and you've been listening to Diverse and Inclusive Leaders, the podcast, available on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, and all of your favourite podcast channels and apps. You can also now find us on YouTube. Please do visit the Dial Global YouTube channel. It stands for Diverse, Inclusive, Aspirational Leaders Global. Or you can visit us on www.dialglobal.org/podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now. Thank you so much for watching the Diverse and Inclusive Leaders podcast. Please do feel free to hit the like button below, or if you'd like to receive future notifications, do ping the notification bell here at the side. If you're interested in the audio version only, you can find it on the following streaming platforms. Any extra info and descriptions will be in the links below. Look forward to seeing you soon.